So poops, do you remember Tian Chua's stick? Wow, that sounded really wrong. Pop, chop, chop. By now, I think a lot of you already know what happened at KLCC. Kinda hard not to, given that a whole bunch of hashtag solidarity advocates came out and started calling it a tragedy. Most recently, Mandiri.my. Yeah, for those of you who don't know what Mandiri means, it means autonomous. And from what I can see, there are all of these people who are trying to be anti-colonialists, fighting against oppression, social justice, decolonized knowledge. Basically, they are all of those so-called colonial fighter wannabes who are no longer living in the colonial age. Their whole concept is that they want to be even more merdeka than merdeka because the original merdeka that we already had did not satisfy them. Lovely. You know what will make you guys even more merdeka? Getting a job. Anyway, Mandiri was inspired by Saudara Tian Chua's stick. Flag. They read a statement from KLCC about how, oh, I'm sorry, sticks cannot be brought in, items that could pose a potential safety risk or disrupt the comfort of our patrons are not allowed. So they decided to do a social experiment and to bring in Free Palestine back to KLCC. Nicely edited Instagram reel. All of them coming in, walking around with the flag on display silently, documenting every single interaction with the security guards. Oh my gosh, say this isn't so, say they won't kick us out, say that it's not about KLCC being Zionist, before yup, security appears and, as expected, kicks them out. And there they are, just casually taking a picture. And there we go with the comments, just casually demanding, KLCC, shame on you! Explain yourself! Bukankah kami sudah merdeka? Wow. Terbaik anak muda, you're so clever. You've established that KLCC is run by these Palestine-hating, Zionist-supporting, horrible people. Terbaik anak muda, terbaik anak muda. And my first reaction to this is disgust. I mean, the same point about bad behavior that I made in the last video kind of still applies here, but in a slightly different context. But to deal with this, let's clarify a couple of things that this Farwina Farouk mentioned. She says these are the legal points. Number one, KLCC is not a private space, it's a private property regulated by local authorities. Sure, you can say that. True, it is private property, but because of its LRT station, it has regulated public access. No problem with that. But there's also the point, of course, that security guards cannot act like police, cannot seize private property. That is true. They are not law enforcement, they cannot investigate, they cannot arrest, they cannot seize property outside the scope of Section 27 of the Criminal Procedure Code. But see, I start taking an issue from point number 2 onwards because technically, even though the public is invited in, it is also a fact that the access is conditional, meaning that Suria KLCC can set house rules under the Contracts Act 1950, which by the way means that they can restrict demonstrations, protests, or the display of flags, even if you're not committing a crime. Under the Private Agencies Act 1971 and the Penal Code Section 441 Criminal Trespass, they can ask you to leave if you breach house rules, or they can remove you from the premises if you refuse. They cannot confiscate property permanently, but they can deny entry if you are carrying items like flags or placards deemed disruptive. Which I think is kind of consistent so far with everything that we've seen. With the Tian Chua situation, they didn't seize the stick, they didn't take it away from him, they just told him to get rid of the flag because house rules, security, no sticks, those are our rules. Very simple. Now the social experiment angle that these guys came in with and that they think is so smart is not exactly the same situation. See, this is no longer just about the stick anymore. Remember that in the Tian Chua situation, it was literally just after the anti-Trump rally and these guys were just entering into KLCC. There was no intention of having a protest. So in that case, the problem was the stick. But you see, in their experiment, they didn't do it ceteris paribus. Instead, they did it in a slightly different way. They actually had a coordinated group of people carrying flags and then moving around the premises because they wanted to incite KLCC and they wanted to provoke a reaction. Basically, we want to protest, we want to show the Palestine flag. So protest, which is not allowed under house rules, which means they can go and call the cops, which by the way, they were on the verge of doing before you guys ran away. But of course, our Mandiri friends aren't going to be thinking about that. Instead, they're just going to be reaching out to influencers, commenting, expecting people to go out and then pressure KLCC, make videos about it, appeal to their humanity. How could you not show solidarity? And you can just imagine them just casually screaming, "So much for Malaysia!" as they continue smelling their farts that go up and up into the heavens even further. You know, it's funny how these people are going out and talking about how they're so mandiri and so autonomous, merdeka, they can do everything that they want, which is true. I mean, like, all power to you. As I said in the last video, you want to scream, "Free, free Palestine." As long as you don't disrupt me, you can invite me, I might go. Like, it's actually a thing. But the wild, incredible, and hypocrite thing that I see from what they're doing right now is that somehow they seem to think that only their autonomy matters and KLCC's does not. I mean, like Farwina Farouk said, and that I affirm, KLCC is a private property, it's owned by Suria KLCC, and they have every right to manage their property the way that they want. It doesn't matter whether they're stopping you from bringing in sticks or they're stopping you from bringing in flags at the end of the day. Which, by the way, they did correctly in both situations, because in the first situation, you were carrying a stick, and in the second situation, you were conducting a protest. Both of these are perfectly rejectable with no issues whatsoever, and they have every part of their autonomous Mandiri right to do so. But of course, these people don't listen to reason. They are the kinds of people who will just go all like, "Oh no, but we're supposed to be merdeka, we have to be in perpetual solidarity." Basically saying, I don't care what you think, I don't care about your rules, I will follow my own rules, and you can do nothing about it. Yeah, you know what that sounds like? That sounds like going to someone's house and then trying to take over, putting your shoes on the bed and doing everything however you want as you occupy, and then push them into doing exactly what you want. Good job! You know who else does that? Well, read the news and read your own notes again. I'm sure that you can find a nice example in the middle of the Middle East. But of course, these people love their social justice, and for what it's worth, we can expect more and more mediocre politicians to come in, jump in, start talking about how we need to be more mandiri, fight colonialism, while, by the way, using colonizer tactics on KLCC, expecting it to kowtow, to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize to you and everybody else who is out there in solidarity." So much for fighting against the oppressors. When you're going out there screaming at the top of your lungs, and clearly trying to oppress people into supporting your point of view. The oppressed becomes the oppressors, the colonized becomes the colonizers, the mandiri becomes the penjajah. Good job! Was that what you wanted all along? Because if that's what you wanted all along, it makes perfect sense. But if that's not what you wanted and you're just out there to ask for answers, then go ahead, ask. But if nobody gives you an answer, you don't have the right to go out there and then try to force them into saying a damn thing because they don't owe you anything. Somehow or another, a lot of these people like to go out there and then say that like, oh, they are mandiri, and somehow assume that being independent or merdeka means that they can say whatever it is that they want, not respect other people's right to be mandiri. And you can see that it's not true mandiri, because if it were true mandiri, if it were true autonomy, then you would respect the autonomy not only of yourself as an individual to express yourself politically in the way that you want, but you would respect other people to say, look, I don't care about your protests, I just want to create a good time for everyone who goes out there and starts shopping on my premises. It's my personal choice to distance myself from whatever it is that you're trying to do. I want nothing to do with that. It is not unreasonable, it is not controversial, it shouldn't be controversial. It's like basically me saying, look, I don't want to talk to you, get out of my face, that's my personal choice. But I doubt that these people are ever going to understand. It will be a sight to see how these people casually go out there and try to destroy a national icon, how they're going to be browbeating Suria KLCC into doing whatever it is that they want out there. To KLCC, I hope that you're not going to give in, because like these people obviously want to just defy your authority, your rights, your privilege of being able to actually manage your own property, which is not okay, is not acceptable. And if you fall to their constant yapping, I would consider it one of the most unfortunate things that has ever happened in the entire history of this country, as a bunch of people who are not even loyal to their own country, it seems, go out there and casually demonstrate, as they always have, that they will put a foreign entity above their own country, while for some reason or another expecting people around them to be proud of Malaysia as a country even as their loyalties lie elsewhere. Truly amazing. If you want to be Merdeka, so poops, may I make a suggestion? Choose one place, either Malaysia or Palestine. And if you want to choose Palestine, then move there. Don't be going out there and yapping about how KLCC needs to display the flag of your choice under the circumstances of your choice, even as you ignore the light shows that it's done in solidarity just because you want to have people follow your way under your conditions, and you never learn how to respect anybody in your entire life before. But what do you think of this Mandiri display, Sapoops? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. That's all I have to say about that, and bye.